Dia Gwitch everyone, Kajima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 79 of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host, motherfucking Inline G. Guys, I say this every single time we have a solo episode, but it is so fucking lovely to be back, just you and me, dear listener, to have me in your ears. You've got me back. Here, you caught me. Now, what are you going to do with me? I love the guest episodes. I really fucking do. They're so much fun and they're a real pleasure. But this is the real bones of Inline G. And the ones that listen to just the solo episodes or listen to the solo episodes as well, you guys know what this podcast is all about. This is the meat and potatoes of Inline G. I fucking love it. Now, we haven't had a solo episode in a while and we're going to be getting on to that today. Why? It's going to be like a fucking therapy session today. I'm strapped in for it already. But before we get there, Spotify Wrapped has came out, and it came out weeks ago, but I haven't got to see you guys one-to-one to properly talk about it. So these numbers are insane. I'm so fucking I'm swearing a lot today, aren't I? Dogs off the leash. Oh Jesus. Right, Spotify Wrapped 2024. Now this podcast started in 2023, and it was a very small podcast for those 6 months it was out in 2023. It was really basic, and we only started getting guests on towards the end of that year. And it didn't really pick up. 2024 saw a wee bit of a difference. Now, Spotify, this is only Spotify, so I know a lot of you guys listen on Apple or Amazon or Deezer, pour les Français, and a lot of you watch the YouTube version. So this is only for the people who listen on Spotify, and I'm in your ears every week. Follower growth over 2024 compared to 2023, we rose by 737 fucking percent. 81 of you, this was your top podcast of the year. 47 countries are on the Inline G, with of course the US of A at number 1, for fuck's sake. And for people who Inline G was in their top 5 podcasts, it was over 600 of you, and over 300 people have it in their top 3. And again, this is just on Spotify, it's not including YouTube. Now, I know these are hardly fucking Joe Rogan numbers, okay? But this is not the podcast for Joe Rogan listeners either. I'm sure there's not much of an overlap between mine and Mr. Rogan's podcast, because we're not here to appeal to the fucking finance bro, huel drinking fucking bro market. We're not that. We're compassionate. We're empathetic boys and girls, and here, all in between. And sometimes that just doesn't sell very well, and that's okay. Now, overall, the listens for 2024, we hit over 10,000 streams. That's fucking insane. To put that into comparison for me, because obviously Joe Rogan gets that in fucking 10 minutes of a podcast, but fuck Joe Rogan. In comparison, Windsor Park in Belfast, where the Northern Ireland football team play their matches, 10,000 people will go to a Northern Ireland game. If I was standing in front of them, I'd be fucking delighted to be doing a podcast. That's insane. Putting it that way, it's fucking wild. So guys, seriously, thank you. Really, thank you. It's you, it's we, it's not me at all. You guys are keeping this going. We are the biggest flute podcast in the world, whether they fucking like it or not. And we've done it without a single fucking penny in sponsorship. We haven't been running any pyramid schemes. I haven't been trying to sell you dodgy fucking courses on the internet. Or, like some people, I haven't just been plain old fucking lying through my teeth. This is a true relationship between you and me. And a healthy one at that. And I'm very fucking proud of it. We've built this fucking podcast brick by brick. Fuck all the other ones. They hate me swearing. Fuck them. I'm really off on one today, lads. Jesus. It's that new energy. New year, same me. No. Okay, no, guys, I'm going to be honest. When I got the Spotify Wrapped, I was dreading it. I got an email to say it, and I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be depressing. The numbers are never what I want them to be in this podcast, but I always have to remind myself we're not trying to get numbers. We're building relationships, but still, I got the numbers, and it was beyond my wildest dreams, and I genuinely cried a fucking lot. And when this came in, so this was around November, December time, this was a period in my life when I was doing a fair bit of crying for many, many reasons. So today's episode is going to explore all of that, but first of all, I am going to give you the context, so bear with me here. It's like a fucking therapy session here, Jesus Christ. Okay, so guys, as you've probably heard me say in this podcast, over the last few years, like I'm sure many of you can relate to this, I have been in and out of love with music. Especially post-COVID, when basically every orchestral opportunity, every orchestral gig, everything I wanted and I was working towards, fucked off. It all dried up. Okay, now in those years, I've had to rebuild a life for myself, make a living, and I've put together this nice wee life. Now, I've got, I was teaching, I was doing the odd bit of very, very sporadic non-classical gigging. I work at the football stadium, and I put together a wee life for myself in Germany, which I was very proud of to stay, to not have to go back to Ireland. But my main goals for these last, how long has it been since COVID? Fucking hell. 3 years since we got out of it, 4 years. I had two big things I wanted to achieve. Well, three, okay. I wanted to get a bigger income through music, a bigger regular income only through music. I wanted to work in German, get more work purely in German, and I wanted to get just one more orchestral gig, just to fucking tick it off the list and say, I can still do that. I'm not a has-been. I haven't hung up the boots yet. I can still do it. Now, these were lifetime goals. Now, and the German thing as well, the only reason for that was I never wanted to leave Germany until... I didn't want Germany to beat me. I never want to leave Germany until I can say, no, it didn't beat me, I beat it. I don't want to say, I couldn't hack it there. It's not me. Now, November last year was fucking wild. One day, out of the blue, I was sitting in my house, doing what I do. I got a call from a mate of mine offering me 2 teaching positions. 2 brand new ones. Pretty prestigious teaching positions. She was leaving the country and she put my name forward as a replacement for flute teaching. And I got interviews and I got both jobs. And they were in German. So when the guys asked me, like, are you comfortable doing this in German? My instant reaction was, no, I can't do it in German. Then I thought, you know what? Fuck it. After all this time of wanting these things so badly, I'm just going to give it a lash. I'm just going to go for it. And if it goes wrong, here, better to have tried. Okay? Better to speak shite German than not do it at all. So I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give it a go. We'll see how it goes. Now, I got those jobs. And I was ecstatic because suddenly my income is proper. Now, I have a stable income as a musician. And I don't have to rely on outside jobs. And it just, both jobs out of nowhere. And working in German. All happened. So I went to Paris that week. I had planned to go to Paris anyway. And that's where you got your episodes. And I was celebrating. Now, as I was talking to everyone in Paris, I said, the one thing left is I need to get one orchestral gig. I just need to get one, just to fucking do it one more time. And that's it. I can hang up the boots after that. I can hang the flute up and say I've done it. But I need to get back into orchestral playing after all these years. And then, another phone call comes in. And it's to ask me to do an orchestral gig. Someone's not available for a gig. They need me to jump in on first flute with repertoire I've never fucking played in my life. Basically didn't know the repertoire. As soon as I got the phone call, my immediate reaction was to go, oh fuck, no. I got called last year for a gig and I hesitated for about 20 minutes and said, oh, I'll ring you back in 20 minutes. By the time I rang back, the gig was gone. And I was nearly relieved. It's like, oh my God, I can't do this. This time I thought, you know what, Gareth? Fucking say yes. Just say yes. Do the gig. If it's shite, it's shite. But you're better doing a shite gig than no gig. So I went, you know what? Fuck it. Here we go. I'm doing it. And I did it. I did the gig. I was playing with Alice's orchestra. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it on the other episodes. It did it. It was a massive experience. It was stressful. It was wonderful. It was all these different things. It was a lot of emotion. But the main thing was it went great. And suddenly, after these 2 weeks, I felt like I got my identity back. After all these years, I felt like I was a musician again. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. We lose our identity as musicians when our career isn't going the way it is. We are musicians. And that's nearly what you introduce people. When you introduce yourself to people, you say, I am whatever. I'm Billy Bob and I am a musician. It's so essential to our core identity. And finally, I felt like I got it back. Because all these years I've been saying I'm a musician, but I thought I wasn't. I thought I'm lying because I'm not gigging as much. So I did it. And all my major career goals that I'd set up for myself, 2 weeks, chopped off. That's it. Proper fucking life-changing stuff. Now the gig was the last bit of all that in those 2 weeks. It was on Friday night. I came back to Cologne very early Saturday morning, like 4 a.m. or something. Slept most of Saturday. Went to a football match to celebrate a wee bit and to get the thing out of my system. And on Sunday, my 4-year relationship, or almost 4 years, ended out of the blue. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details on that on this podcast because it's not for airing dirty laundry. But, basically, it was one of those breakups that you could have seen coming maybe a bit further in advance. Things weren't going well or how we'd like. But she came in and she ended it. And I said to her at the time, I have huge respect for her for the way she did it. It was the right thing to do. It was an incredibly difficult decision. She did it, we agreed on it, and it was over. And it was fucking brutal, like it was a harsh ending. We did it that day, we chatted for a few hours, and by the time she left, social medias were gone, keys were exchanged, belongings were passed over, and that was that. Done and dusted. Now, I was already an incredible fucking emotional mess for the right reasons and stressed up to this. This on top, lads, I'm not gonna lie, the first 2 weeks after the breakup were fucking brutal. Brutal. I have never felt as awful in my life. Heartbreak is a vicious thing. Like, fucking vicious. And I will get on to this later, how it relates to music. Don't worry, this is not just me fucking blabbing on about my life. We're going to get to something here. But hold on with me. Stick in for the ride. Now, thank God during that time as well, Inline G had some podcast episodes saved up because I couldn't have made a podcast. This is the first like independent episode I've made since the breakup and since all that happened. I just couldn't face it. I think you might have even noticed I wasn't overly happy with the episodes with my mum and with Elise. They were both great. I felt like I wasn't really on form, and I watched myself back, and the way I edited it and the way I sort of, my heart wasn't in it for those 2 episodes, so I apologize for that. But anyway, we got through it. Then all that happens, and suddenly, bang, Christmas. Now, we all know about Christmas, lads. I'm sure we all suffer from this, but Christmas is a fucking emotional time of the year. I'm sure we all feel this, and no one loves Christmas more than I do. I go home every Christmas back to Ireland. I fucking love it, but it's famous for heightened emotions for everybody. I'm sure you've all been through this, and there are a few reasons why. So you're not alone. For example, we have a naturally heightened expectation for joy and good times at Christmas. It's so pressured into you. It's so built around you. Christmas is happy. Christmas is designed to be happy. Love is written everywhere. All the movies about Christmas are always built into positive emotions. All the songs are lovely. Everything about it is happy, happy, happy. And we take that pressure on. We have an expectation that it should be super happy. There's also the natural thing that it's the end of the year. We use that for reflection. And we use that for evaluation. It's a post in your life to say, right, well, I'm going to measure it against last year. We all do it. I don't fucking want to do it, but we all do it. We all say, well, what was it like this time last year? And fuck's sake, And it's natural. And that can be a positive thing. That can be a fucking awful thing as well. And there's a lot of pressure to be with your loved ones. And sometimes for some people, that's not a good thing. Sometimes you don't want to be with people. You want to be on your own. But Christmas is time to spend together, we're famously told. Even though you're a fucking adult, you can do whatever you want. Nostalgia. Big deal at Christmas. We're all, what was it like this time last year? Christmas, last Christmas. My family are the fucking worst for that. They're going to be listening now, but me and my brother make this rule every year at Christmas. We're like, nobody's allowed to talk about fucking death, because every year at an Irish Christmas, someone at some point will go, they'll get a few gins in them, and they'll be sitting after dinner, and they'll go, what if this is the last Christmas we all have together? And you go, for fuck's sake. You can't get through an Irish Christmas without talking about fucking, you can't get through an Irish anything without talking about death. Jesus Christ, fucking dramatic people, I'll tell you that. But you think back to the good old days. Nostalgia, unresolved emotions is a huge part of it. And you generally just have more time with people over Christmas, and especially as a couple. Either you're spending more time over Christmas if you're in a couple, or you're separating for it. But either way, there's going to be some kind of dramatic click, usually. And there's financial stress for all of us, and especially fucking back home. Like, the cost of living crisis in Ireland at the minute is crazy. I got stressed out at Christmas, and I was only there for 2 weeks about money. It's a hugely stressful time. There's a lot going on. And there is, of course, seasonal... What do you call it? Seasonal... Oh, fuck, guys. Should have Googled this. It's sad, isn't it? SIDS. Seasonal depression disorder. You know, basically when you get depressed at winter. Which makes total sense because the weather's shite. Everything's shite. It's half the reason why Christmas is, or most of the reason why Christmas is at the time of year it is, because we need some kind of celebration to break up winter. Otherwise, we're all depressed as fuck. So, I felt all these things, all these factors with regards to my breakup. But I also realized that I have been feeling those emotions every Christmas. Every single Christmas. But not for a breakup and not for a romantic partner, but for music. The same emotions. So, as my career wasn't going the way I wanted it to over the last few Christmases, every Christmas brought these tough moments back for me. Every single year. So, music is such a core part of our identity. I've said this earlier, but letting that go, or fearing that it will go, is letting go of a huge part of ourselves. And only musicians will really understand this. Maybe other artists, but I think music especially is something very, very different. And I'm sure every one of you can relate to this. I'm not just talking about professional musicians. Any level of musician, we feel this. We understand this. You know, because we start off with this calling towards music. Like, usually music has affected you in some kind of way. It's had a deeply profound impact on you, and you want to affect others the same way, or you just want to go and explore it. And then you do it a few times, and suddenly, out of nowhere, it gives your life this huge sense of meaning and purpose and belonging. And you invest all this time and effort into it, and you face so much fucking criticism. And we spend our lives also comparing ourselves to better musicians, air quotes, or musicians who have got it all together. And we have external pressure. And all these things that I've just said, they're all subjective. There's no measurable way to compare two musicians to each other. No matter how much people want to fucking try, you can't. Art is by its nature subjective. If it's not subjective, it's not art, it's science then. It's just fucking subjective. You cannot, as much as I even do it on this very fucking podcast, you cannot say someone's better than someone else in art. You just can't do it. There's always an argument to be made against it, and that's what makes it interesting. Now, all those things, if I change the wording of what I just said, that could be about a romantic partner. Do you know what? Let's fucking do it. So, music is a core part of our identity. A partner is a huge part of your identity. And letting that person go almost feels like you're leaving a part of your identity with them. You might have explored different parts of your personality. You might be having conversations with them that you don't have with anyone else. And suddenly you're not expressing these emotions and you think, well, they fucked off now. I'm never going to get them out again. It's a huge part. What was the next part? Music as a calling. Well, yeah. A romantic partner has a very similar effect. You feel like you've met this person and you're meant to be together. And it suddenly makes all sense. And then you get deeper into the relationship and you fall more in love. And it becomes more of a huge sense of... It gives you that sense of meaning and purpose in your life. You do invest a shitload of time and effort into a relationship, or you should. And it is hard. You will face criticism from people outside. You'll face criticism from your own partner. You'll face criticism for yourself because relationships are hard. They take a lot of work. We do compare ourselves when we're in relationships to better couples or better partners or better relationships. We do face external pressure as partners for whatever reason. People will always judge you how you act or behave or treat your relationship. And again, everything about a relationship is subjective. There's no right way to do a relationship. There's no wrong way to do it. And there's no measurable way to really compare one person's relationship to another. Exact same fucking emotions. So, now, to go back, returning to orchestral flute playing, and making this income as a musician, it made me feel like I got a part of myself back. It made me feel like Gareth the musician is back. It's me. Like when I go on dates, for example, if anyone's looking, when I introduce myself, I go, my name's Gareth, I'm a flute player. And I've always done that. But recently, I haven't felt it. I felt like I was lying nearly. Maybe I could say Gareth the podcaster. That did give me genuine fucking identity. But not flute player. And now I'm back. Now I'm back doing it, and I can confidently say, yeah, I'm Gareth the flute player. And I've got the meaning and the purpose and the confidence and the self-esteem that comes with it. Once I had a therapist who told me that self-esteem is very simply doing the thing you said you would do. Now, I'm a professional flute player who now plays the flute professionally. So suddenly my self-esteem has built up. Now, losing a relationship at that same time, it sort of let me see both sides of the coin. It flipped it over and let me see the other side. Because I'm no longer in a relationship. That's not a thing. That's not a label that's attached to me anymore. I'm not part of a team. Again, all the conversations where I verbalize my dreams, my fears, my achievements, my losses, my victories, my anxieties, that's all gone. Now, I'm still me. I know that. But for a little while, you do feel like those things are attached to the other person. And losing them is like losing a part of yourself. And there has been studies to this, by the way. I'm not talking bollocks. I know I talk a lot of bollocks in this podcast, but this is not one of those times, all right? There's been studies. Heartbreak shows a similar effect physically and mentally to addiction. Okay, the same patterns are observed in the brain of a person losing romantic activities as a person going through opioid withdrawal. The good shit. But if you're trying to get off drugs, okay, unlike that, when you're trying to get off drugs, you can always relapse. You can go and get some drugs to get the fix. It's not good, obviously, but you can capably do that. When you're getting away from a relationship, you can't just go and get that partner back. It's not as easy as that. So we replace it with other things. We replace it with memories. This is why we stalk our exes online, flick through their fucking social media. We send them texts when we shouldn't be sending them texts. We take trips down memory lane. We stick on the rose-tinted glasses. We look back at old photographs. It's feeding the addiction. And also, it's complicating the recovery. Anyone will tell you trying to get over addiction, you don't go back. You have to go forward. You have to wean yourself off and bring yourself away from it. Relapsing sets your recovery back. And that's what you're doing when you go and do these things when you're going through heartbreak. And it is totally normal, heartbreak, by the way. I love that word. I love that term. I've always wondered where it came from. Heartbreak. Because to break your heart sounds like you should be fucking dead. If you were using that as a medical term and saying he has a broken heart, sir. Doctor, he has a broken heart. You would go, fuck, well, stick a cover over me, he's brown bread. But... And it's a very dramatic term to use. I love it because the effects of heartbreak, they feel life-threatening. Like the effects you go through, we've all had this. The emotional pain is so fucking high. Our bodies react accordingly. You do feel like you're fucking dying. Now I'm putting this all in because it ties into something else that happened recently as well in this period. What a fucking period for me. You're all wondering why I was drinking so much over Christmas. And fucking anything to help me is a pint of porter. I'm joking, by the way. I don't have a problem. Just don't. Now, it did tie into something else recently. I have a friend who, I'm not going to name the friend, obviously, even though you don't know who it is, but still, I studied with them at music college, and they are no longer a musician, but during the Christmas break, they found an old video of themselves from years ago performing at college, and it triggered like this really strong emotional reaction. You're like crying, panic, fear, anxiety, and they almost felt embarrassed of that reaction afterwards. Like, fuck's sake, I was so stupid, I was only looking at a video of myself. But I talked to them and we realised it's a broken heart. It's heartbreak. They were heartbroken to lose the musician part of themselves that is no longer there. And matters of the heart and playing an instrument are so similar. We go through so many similar effects. And today, that's what we're doing in this podcast, by the way. We're fucking, I don't know how many minutes in. I've only got around to telling you, but today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the process of matters of the heart, of love. And we're going to look at playing an instrument. And we're going to do the parallels between those two journeys. So if you're heartbroken, or if you've fallen out of love with your instrument, it's okay. This podcast is for you. Your Auntie Gareth's here. Now, just quickly, lads, we're here. Come on. I've got yous on the hook. I've read about this on social media recently. That's called a hook. And I've hooked yous in. Now I've got yous. What am I going to do with you? I love that. I love that phrase. Now you've got me. What are you going to do with me? You can tell I'm fucking single. Anyway, right. Before we go on, I've got yous on the hook. Before we go on, if you're a regular listener of this podcast, you know what the crack is here. Skip ahead a minute or two, you fucking minxes. But if you're new to the Inline G podcast, can I please just have your wee ear for 1, maybe 2 minutes here for something very important? The Inline G podcast is free. And it'll always be free. And that's a motherfucking guarantee. However, if you want to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute podcast. You'll find the link in the bio. Now, it costs €5 a month. I don't know what that is in dollars and pounds. It's something close to that, okay? But with that, you're keeping this podcast alive. I cannot say that enough. Fuck me. You get 4 episodes a month of this podcast, or you get, if there's 5 weeks in the month, you're getting 5 episodes. You're getting an episode every fucking Friday, come rain nor shine. Now, if you listen to all those episodes and you think, fuck, I enjoyed them all, that was all free. If I saw Gareth in a bar, I'd buy him a pint or a cup of coffee to say thank you. You can stick the coffee up your hole, but anyway, you can now do so digitally. So, I do everything in this podcast on my own, lads, and I cannot drill this in enough. Every fucking thing, and I'm not an expert. I've not studied any of this at any fucking point. I do graphic design for this podcast, all the wee thumbnails and all the wee fucking logos and all that. I do that. Fucking Inline G's, toiling away, slaving over a hot laptop, working away here. I do the research, I do the scripts, I contact the guests, I slide into DMs, I get fucking endless trains across fucking Europe chasing after these guests. I do the editing, the video production, I do it all, okay? So if you become a patron, it helps generate a regular income for this podcast, which is massive. It means, 1, I can turn down other work to focus on it, but 2, and very importantly, I'm getting paid for my work. And as an artist in the modern world, to get paid for your work is unbelievable. It is such a privilege and an honour. The last few weeks I haven't really fancied making this podcast sometimes, but then I think of you guys and you're giving me your hard-earned fucking money. $5 a month might not seem like a lot to you. It's life-changing to me. There's enough of you now that it's an income. Like, not, I can't fucking live off it, Jesus Christ, but it helps pay the bills around here. Helps keep these fucking lights on. You think they pay themselves? I love you guys for it, and that's because I will always turn up and make an episode, because I know you guys are there giving me your hard-earned money. And as soon as I start recording, I love it. So listen, you'll not get many benefits. You're doing it just to help out, okay? And I know that sounds strange, but I don't want to go down the route of give me your money and you'll get this. Don't give me your money, you're not getting that. Because there's people who listen to this podcast who are as dedicated to supporting it and sharing it and helping it, who don't support it financially because they can't, and that's grand. And I don't want them missing out on anything. So the idea is everyone gets a podcast. Everyone gets the same podcast. It's an idea based on socialism. Okay? If you've got the money, donate the podcast. It's brilliant. It really helps. If you haven't got the money, times are hard, alright? We're musicians. Most of us are musicians. It's fucking hard out there. It's grand. You can keep listening for free. The person who can afford it is paying so you don't have to. And you can jump in and out whenever you want. Okay, so if you donate this month and you go next month, fuck, things are a bit tight this month, that's grand. Jump out. It'll cost you fuck all. Thank you. Now, anyway, back to breaking hearts. So we're going to draw these parallels. Stick on the train with me here, lads. Don't leave me yet. Fuck, that is lovely. Has anyone found Spetsy? Do you know they've launched it in America, by the way? Oh, it's called some shit over there. Sunset or Sunrise, one of the two. It's got this beautiful bottle for anyone who can't see it. It's also on my stickers and all my logo stuff, but it's made by Paulaner, or for you Americans, Paulaner. and that was a good accent, wasn't it? You can get it now. It's called Sunset. Go and fucking drink it up. Also, it's not full of all those American chemicals, so it won't kill you. It's actually, to be honest, because there's only sugar in this, it might actually be good for you. So get stuck into it. It's fucking lovely. Now, we're going to draw these parallels, and we're going to get a bit dirty later, alright? So you hold on to your hat, sir. Get a bit blue later for mums and dads. Put the kids to bed here. We're going to get blue. I'm joking. My grandmother watches this podcast, for fuck's sake. So, first experiences. Our first experiences with music are often our first experiences with music are often very similar to our first romantic experiences. Now, they're both full of the thrill of discovery. It's like, wow, it's something brand new, and all the new sounds and all the keys and the thing are amazing, and the pure wonder and curiosity at the start of like a flute. You're like, what the fuck, man, it's great. You blow into it, it makes a noise, and you press the buttons, and you can remember as a kid how fascinated you were if you started as a kid with the instrument. You were like, oh my god, it's shiny and it's cool, and it's just all, I want to touch this button and see what it does. And to be honest, our first romantic experiences are often the same. I want to touch this button and see what it does. Not that, I'm joking, but it's the same. You're like, when you first ever have a romantic interest in someone, like your first ever crush, it's so exciting, and it's like possibility, and it's new, and you're like, what the fuck is this? It feels great, let's do it, let's chase after this. And it's this childlike curiosity to go and explore something totally unfamiliar without fear. Children do this without fear. It's something we have to learn again. Children do it without fear. If you say to a child, if you're walking in the bars with a child who's 6 years old, and there's a big fucking massive cave and it's straight down, you go, don't go in there, it's going to be bad. The child goes, great, I'm away. I'm going down there. See you later. Fuck off. They just saunter on down. They don't have a fucking fear in the world. And that's a good thing with certain things. Not for caves, but for flutes and for romantic interests. Sometimes it's good to live without fear a little bit. And also, at the start, it can be awkward. You know, it's awkward. You're sort of fumbling about. You don't even know what to do with it all. It's full of intense feelings, or nearly obsession with how strong it gets. And you have that desire to impress. You know, with romance, you want to impress the person you're interested in, and with your instrument, you want to impress yourself. You want to impress other people. You want to go, look what I can do. I can play this. It's fucking amazing. And these are genuinely, practically universal experiences, especially the romantic one. Most people, excluding aromantics, will experience a first attraction, and most people will experience playing some kind of instrument at some point in their life, even if it's for fucking 5 minutes. It might be like blowing down a recorder, or hitting a triangle, or banging a piano or something. Oh, I was going to make a bad joke there, but I'm not going to. It's hard to talk about romantic things and say blowing and banging and not make a joke, but I'm a grown-up and I'm not going to do that. But we've all done it. We've all, like, not blowing and banging. Yeah, you fill your boots, you do what you want out there, lads. I'm not here to judge. But we've all played an instrument. Everyone's played an instrument at some point. Or they've experimented with sound. They've hit something and it's made a funny sound. They've done it. We've all done it. But these are first experiences. Falling in love, that's a different ballgame. Now, I got a lovely quote here. Worse than the total agony of being in love. And then Liam Neeson says, yeah, you're right, total agony. Does anyone know that film? I hope you all do. I hope you all watched it. Love Actually. Now, you've seen the Love Actually? The Love Actually. It sounded like my fucking granny. You've seen that Love Actually? But Love Actually, the Christmas film, beautiful film. First year in my life I haven't watched it, my adult life. But I hope you all watched it over Christmas. It's got Liam Neeson in it, and as a North of Ireland native, Liam sums it up. He sums up love. Sums up love there beautifully. Because as Northern Irish people, or people from the North of Ireland, we're all very well versed on matters of the heart. We're a nation of absolute hopeless fucking romantics, which is why I'm having no fucking luck. But he's not wrong. Love is agony. Love is tough, but it's not always. And I think most of us have all had the experience of falling in love in some kind of way, and it usually involves a few things falling in love. So you'll have constant thoughts about the person. That's the first thing. You're always thinking about them. They're never out of your mind. When you fall in love with someone for the first time, genuinely, it's like you can't remove them from your mind. You get butterflies in the tummy when you see them, or when you think about them even sometimes, and you get that like nervous energy where you're just like, wow, I need to go and do shit because you're nervous. It's great. You have this deep desire to spend all of your time with them. No matter what you're doing, like, fuck that, I'm going with them. You just want to spend every living second with them. You have heightened attention to their qualities. Suddenly their eyes are bluer, their jokes are funnier, their tits are big. I'm sorry. But you have a heightened attention to their qualities. And it's really important. You have increased emotional vulnerability on your own part. You feel more open emotionally. And that can be scary as well. But you feel like you want to tell them stuff. You want to express your feelings. You want to feel. You want to be emotional. You want to be vulnerable. And you have just that general sense of euphoria. You know that thing people talk about, like when you're in love, the colours are brighter and the smells are smellier and, Chelsea are going to win the league and all that. It's a great time. Now, if I read back through every single one of those and we use our instruments and we can all remember a time, especially if you're a musician you're all musicians here, probably. You're all actual musicians. So you didn't just play the flute for a week and then fuck off. You're all musicians. We've all went through this at some point. No matter what level of musician you are, we've all had this. So it's usually just after the initial phase of learning. When you just got into the instrument, after the sort of like first few weeks, you realize, oh, this is love. You fell in love with an instrument. So let's go back through this. Where is it? Where did I start doing that? Jesus Christ. You think I'd organize this better? Where's my editing team? Okay, so constant thoughts about the person. When you start getting in, you remember that period when you were playing the flute, probably the flute, where you just started getting really into it. For me, I was about 13. I started falling in love with it. I couldn't stop thinking about the flute. All my time was about the flute. Flute. Thinking about what I was playing, listening to more of it, watching videos, consuming everything I could about the flute. For that little period, I was obsessed with it. Butterflies in the tummy? Yeah, obviously. Okay, you don't get it when you walk in and see your flute and you go, oh, look here it is. Oh, it's you again. What are you doing here? You don't do that when you look at your flute. Well, buy me a drink, baby. But you do get it when you go performing. You'll get that. You go out and perform and you feel so like, oh my God, I'm playing the flute. Or you go to a lesson. You remember when you were in love with the flute and you actually, like when you were really in that period and you went to a lesson and you practiced and you were like, oh, I can't wait to show the person, my teacher. I want to show my teacher what I've done. And you do get that butterfly thing. Deep desire to spend all your time with them? Yeah, easy. We've all had that period where you just want to play the flute all fucking day. Heightened attention to their qualities? Yeah, 100%. You're looking at your flute saying, oh my God, it sounds amazing. This note sounds great. This music sounds great. I love everything about this instrument. You're playing things you want. I love this. You're playing an F sharp going, oh my God, F sharp. I thought F was the best note in the world, but then I heard F sharp and Jesus Christ. You get more beautiful every day. And you get increased emotional vulnerability. Of course you do. When you're expressing music, you really do start to show yourself on it. It's a very emotional thing to be in love with an instrument and to express to people, say, I love playing the flute. Because if you tell people and you show how open you are and how obsessed you are with your instrument, the minute you go to perform, you suddenly go, oh fuck, they all know I love this instrument. They know how I'm into it. I better not play shite. And you get that nervousness then. You've got vulnerability. And, yep, you've got the general sense of euphoria. You know, the colours are brighter. The smells are smellier. Chelsea are going to win the league. It's just, it comes with that. When you were in that period with your instrument, you had that. I guarantee it, because I had it. I remember just thinking flute, and I loved everything. If you find any definition for love, and you'll find many of them, because nobody's worked it out yet, thank God, you'll be able to apply it to your relationship and music. We've all had it. Now, with love comes agony. Liam Neeson's agony. Heartbreak. Now, lads, heartbreak is awful. As I said earlier, there's legitimate physical and emotional damage that feels like you're fucking dying. Heartbreak is awful. Okay? You have the initial sadness of it that's very similar to grief. It feels like grief. It feels like you're mourning the loss of someone. It's heartbreaking. You get a lot of anger, a lot of resentment towards the person or towards yourself. We're talking about heartbreak with a partner here. A lot of confusion and doubting yourself. Maybe you look back and say, well, what happened? Where did it go wrong? Was I the problem? Did I fuck this up? You'll obsess over the person you've lost. That's your checking the social media and looking at their statuses and texting them and all. That's the obsession. You get the actual fucking chest pain. Like I had that, like actual tightness in the chest. When you thought about them, you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. Losing your appetite. My mom told me a word for that as well. The breakup diet or the breakup thing. I couldn't eat for like a week after the breakup. Couldn't eat a fucking bite. And here, I love eating. I could eat more than the bite. Couldn't eat a fucking bite. You can't sleep. The only time I could sleep in that week was when I was so exhausted from crying that I just eventually just had to sleep. Your immune system gets lowered. Like you start getting sick more because you're not eating, you're not sleeping, and you start getting sick more. These are like serious physical effects. You start seeing your friends less. You don't want to. Your work becomes a lot more difficult than it used to. I nearly cried. I started crying in a lesson that I was given to a wee girl because she played something right and she was so happy with it and she was so delighted that I started crying because I was happy for her. And I had to turn away and be like, oh, fuck's sake, you just got this job. You cannot start crying in the lessons. It's tough to go to work. You can't concentrate for a week. I swear to God, I couldn't concentrate on fucking anything. My brain was just all over the place. Now again, lads, if I run through all those things, this could apply to any kind of negative experience you've had as a musician. We've all been through this. It doesn't mean you've had to fall out of love with the instrument entirely. It could be anything. And this is the kicker. You get it a lot as a musician. Heartbreak happens a couple of times in your life with a partner, if you're lucky. As a musician, this happens all the fucking time. Field auditions, bad performances, rejections, bad lessons, a nasty comment, a nasty review. It triggers the whole response thing again. The whole system comes back. We get it all the fucking time. So, like, you look at this, where's the first one? Intense sadness. Jesus Christ. If I take my own field audition, intense sadness, God almighty. We talked on the last podcast, when I failed the concours in Paris, I cried all the fucking day. It was awful. A lot of anger. I was very angry at the school for not giving me the fucking thing. A lot of confusion and doubting yourself, obviously. You think I should have practiced more, I should have done more, I could have done more. Obsessing over the person you've lost. You obsess not over the person, obviously, but with music you would obsess over the opportunity that could have been. Or even the fact that even the person you were before you did it, you were a happy musician, you were working well, you were motivated, you were on the road, and then suddenly that person's gone. I got fucking chest pain. I felt awful after field auditions or competitions. I felt fucking awful. I've lost my appetite after them 100%. I've lost sleep after bad auditions. I've had lowered immune system. I do see friends less. I do have bad times at work. I can't concentrate. All these things, they happen exactly the same when I went through a bad period in my career, something that didn't go the way I wanted it to. It's fucking heartbreak. Like, being a musician will break your heart on the regular. Twice a month or every month, for fuck's sake. It's awful. Like, lads, you're all made of fucking not stone, that's not the right thing. You're all made of tough stuff. I'm proud of you all for being a musician. It's not fucking easy. Not We've been very depressing here, but listen, we're coming towards the last bit of the podcast. So what's the cure for heartbreak? Because we're taking the next step in the relationship here. So what's the cure? The best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. I'm sorry, my grandparents watch this, okay? I'll spare you all the gory details, but listen, being single again, I can comment on this. I've went through both of these now recently, so I can go through this whole thing. If you're currently brokenhearted from a lover or a partner of your desired sex, or from the flute or your instrument or a bad audition or whatever, and you're going through this, don't worry, your Auntie Gareth is here to give you 5 tips. I think it's 5. I didn't make a list, but we're going to get there. Don't worry, lads, I've got you. So, lads and ladies and all in between, sorry, excuse me. Number 1, take time to grieve. Give yourself a bit of fucking space with it, okay? Give time space to say, I feel sad, and that's okay, and that's legitimate. Feeling fucking awful after a bad audition is totally valid. Now, I know what you're thinking. I bang on this podcast a lot about the fact that we don't do a real job. We don't do an important job. We're not saving lives. It doesn't really matter in the grander scheme of the world. But that doesn't mean that we can't feel terrible fucking emotions and that they're very real and very justified. So be gentle to yourself. You're allowed to feel a bad emotion and acknowledge it. Just say, I feel fucking shit. I feel awful. Don't try to hide it away. Number 2, go and find something to make you happy. Go get a new hobby. Go reconnect with old friends. Do something brand new that makes you happy. I remember Card Frampton, the boxer, world champion boxer, 3-time 2-weight world champion from Belfast, if I haven't mentioned him before. But he took a period where he went away from the ring and we all thought he'd retired, and he turned up again 2 years later to go fighting again. And the first interview, I remember him doing it, I remember it so clearly, he said, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. And he'd spent 2 years looking after his mental health, took away from boxing entirely. 2 years. Can you imagine taking 2 years away from your instrument entirely? You think, fuck, I'll never get back. Carl came back and won a world title. Alright, so fucking hell, you can do it. But he came back happy. And that's the way you have to play the fucking game, okay? You can do that. You can take a bit of time away from the flute and then come back and play that fucking piece again. Fuck the flute. You need time away from it sometimes and you'll be grand. Technique comes back, okay? It's never gone forever. Don't worry about, like, oh my God, the longer I stay away from it, the worse my technique's going to be. Because you hear all those professionals and the top people going, if I don't play for a day, oh my God, I have to practice so much. Fuck up. Fuck up, do your balls. Alright? You can take 2 years away from the flute. I swear to God, you'll be back at it in no time. Swear to fucking God. Right? It's like, well, It's not like riding a bike, because I never learned how to ride a bike, but you get it back. I promise. A couple of weeks, no matter how long you've been away, a couple of weeks, you'll be grand. I fucking promise. Unless you've been away for like 30 years, it might take a couple more weeks, but you'll get back. It's all up there, down there's for dancing. Number 3, acknowledge the thoughts of your former partner or musical life. Now, negative emotions, negative thoughts, rumination, all this, it's going to happen, lads. When you're heartbroken, these things happen. But listen, don't judge it. Just observe and witness those emotions. It's kind of like, a therapist once told me this, it's like watching cars on a motorway and you're on the side of the motorway or the freeway. For my fucking American overlords who are paying for this podcast, god damn it. They're flying past. You don't try and stop a car, do you? When you're fucking, well, I mean, Americans might, but you don't try and stop it. You just look at them and you don't like pick every car out and look at it intensely. You just go, there's a car. Oh, fuck, the way it goes. You observe it. You look at it and you observe. You go, there are cars. They have went past. There's another car. It'll be gone in a minute too. You do that with your negative thoughts. Let's go, oh, I've got a negative thought. There it is. It'll be gone in a minute. It'll pass. And it does. It always fucking does, alright? So, it really helps. Think about that. Now, number 4, make meaning of the heartbreak. Oh, God. Now, it's a hard one. But every time you feel shit about what happened, try to remember it's always for the best. Always for the best. It is genuinely true. What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Always. Okay? This is so important. And maybe sometimes the only positive that you get from the whole experience is that it's over. But you're fuck it. In any case, you've built your resilience. And that's so important as a musician and as a person. You need resilience. And I'll give you a wee tip. If you're going through any kind of heartbreak now, wait for a moment where you're feeling okay about it. And you're thinking straight and you're like, oh yeah, it was for the best. I think this now, it's great. I really should have done this. Go into your phone's app and quickly make a fucking couple of bullet points. It takes like 3 minutes, alright? Tops. Make a wee fucking list of all the things you're thinking, of reasons why it was good. Stick it in your phone, lock it, throw it away. Well, don't throw your phone away, fuck's sake, but you know what? Stick it back in your pocket, right? And the next time you have a negative emotion, try to make the association of going, negative emotion, open the list, and just read through it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does fuck all, to be honest. But do it. Do it with your flute playing. I have done this, by the way. Okay? I have genuinely done this. I did this with a field audition after my first field audition in Cannes, down in France. Fucking awful experience. Really awful. And it felt like the whole thing was a waste of time, money, and I genuinely thought, why the fuck am I doing this career? But I made a list. I remember the list had things like, you've got experience of how orchestral auditions work. Next time you'll be better prepared mentally for all the other things apart from the playing, which was so important, and it was true. It's no longer unknown. It made you practice more. You did more practice during that period, and that practice is golden. It's money in the fucking bank. You develop parts of your playing just by the motivation the audition provided. You did an audition, which takes a set of fucking balls in itself. I hate saying set of balls. We should really find something that's a bit more gender inclusive. Set of tits? No, you can't say that, can you? Jesus, Gareth. But anyway, set of cojones. I know that's just Spanish for balls, but sure. But it does. You think the amount of people who didn't do what you did, like in my scenario, doing an audition, I know the amount of people who didn't do it because they were too scared to do an audition is massive. Alright? But I did. I fucking did it. And that's an achievement. So go and make a list. And doing whatever you did is achievement in itself. The amount of people don't do it. And lastly, lads, the biggest tip I'll give you, get back on the horse when you're ready. Okay? When you're ready for it, jump back on the horse. You don't only fall in love once. Okay? You'll do it again. We all do. You have the capacity to fall in love all over again with someone new. Or you can fall in love again with your flute, or with performing, or with audition, whatever it is that's broke your wee heart. You can fall in love again. I promise. You loved once, you can love again. So, go out there. Start swiping right on people you shouldn't be swiping right on. Here's a classic as well. When I was home at Christmas, I didn't know everyone did this. TikTok has made me realize I haven't had a single fucking original experience in my entire life, but I didn't know that this was a thing, that when you go back to your hometown at Christmas, people who live in the hometown always go like, oh, that guy you went out with 7 years ago was texting you on Christmas Eve saying, did Santa come? Here, that guy is this guy. And then if you don't get a reply, you've got a second bite of the apple on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year message. I'm back from the dead, baby. Who's back? I thought I was the only one that did that, texting that to girls I shouldn't be texting it to. Right here. I'm back on the market. Okay, these were mistakes. But sure. Anyway. We see, when you break up though, at some point, it's such a universal experience to break up that you do make the effort to date again at some point. And everyone understands this. It's such an accepted thing. You know, we don't do it with our instruments, which is so weird to me. When you break up, at some point your friends will be like, oh, go try the apps, go start swiping right, or they'll give you other advice like, go to a book club, go try to meet people that actively get you out. They'll say, do you want to meet my friend? I'll bring you to this party. I think you'd be good for this. I'll set you up. You go on a blind date. We have all these solutions that are built into our society of how to get over a broken heart and to get moving on. But we don't do that with our flute. We just fucking leave it. Go and do those things. Go and try out a new fucking type of music. Go pick up something that has no attachment to yourself whatsoever. Go play some Irish music. Go play some fucking jazz. And it's absolutely basic, and just enjoy the fact that it's not what you were usually doing. Doesn't matter if you're good at it. Who gives a fuck if you're good at it? Do something flute adjacent. Start a fucking podcast. Go play music. Play music. Don't go play with someone you haven't played with, alright? And you be careful. Go play music with someone you haven't played with before. Do something you just know you're going to enjoy with zero pressure, but it's something in the musical world. Get back into loving your instrument. I would never have done those orchestral gigs this year and I wouldn't have got back to my playing if it wasn't for two things. One, playing Irish music, which I've done for the last 3 years, and two, this fucking podcast. These are the two things. They both let me rediscover that curiosity and playfulness I used to have. That attitude to that thing that I had, that childlike, oh, this is shiny, let's play with this, let's go down the fucking cave. No pressure, no fear. I refound that because of doing these things. It took me a long time to heal from classical flute playing. But now I'm back. I'm back and I'm ready to dive in balls deep. But these are the things that got me there. Irish music gave me this joy of playing music again without anyone giving a fuck. I play Irish music every week now. I do so many gigs. Nobody's ever said, oh, you didn't play well. That never happens. Nobody even cares. They're just like, oh my God, there's music. This is class. And that's what music should be. People should go, there's a guy playing live music. This is amazing. We're so lucky. And you get to share the music with me. Go, here, do you like this one? Try that one on for size. It's great. It's so much fun. And the podcast, as I said before, it gives me identity, belonging. It's a space for me to explore creativity. And it gives me a bit of an ego boost as well, because people listen to this podcast, which I can't fucking believe. It still feels like it's just for me. I can't believe I'm in your ears. I love being in your ears, lads. I love it. Maybe I should do a wee sleep podcast as well. Go to sleep. I could do an erotic one. No, my grandmother's listening. I won't do it. But anyway, those two things, they made me fall in love with music again. And when I came back to classical playing, I'd healed from my last one, and I built up positive experiences with my instrument, and I was ready to fall in love all over again. So you can do that. Now, here, as for the women, I haven't had much fucking luck, I'll tell you that. But we're going to get there, all right? I'm going to get there. If anyone knows a girl out there with a nose piercing and big black boots who likes pints of stout and listen to the Spice Girls, can you please give her my number? It's urgent. Or if anyone knows Orla, fuck, I shouldn't probably say her name, but I won't say which chippy, but Orla works in my local fish and chip shop back in my hometown. Oh, if anyone knows her, you know who I'm talking about. Just tell Orla, every time I smell vinegar, I think of her. I love you, Orla. Anyway, lads, I'm going to leave you with something, okay? I just got thinking about this, so yeah, I wrote this the other night from a few things I'd heard online. So, you know, if you're going through heartbreak, I do hope it gets mended soon. And something that really helps is perspective. And perspective is important. Often in life, especially modern life, we spend a lot of time looking forward and not enough time looking at the journey now, where it is in perspective. For example, do you know what the difference between fear and anxiety is? I'll give you a wee minute to think about that. Fear and anxiety, there's a difference. There's two different words. Anxiety is anticipated or anticipatory fear. It's a fear of things that haven't happened yet. Things that might not ever happen. Probably won't ever happen, to be honest. And fear is for present things. It's things that are actually happening right now. So letting your mind wander too far away from the present naturally creates anxiety. Okay, so listen, I'm no therapist. I should really say that in every episode. But something that helps me is to think of bringing my career back to the present, putting it back in perspective, and I'm sure it's going to help you too, because you remember when you used to wish for the life you have right now. Think back to it. There was a time, you know, the gigs, the joy music brings you, the ability to actually play your instrument. There was a time when you'd lie awake dreaming of becoming the musician you are right now. And now, it's just another day. The gigs are just work. The music is just another exercise, and you barely notice the technique that you once craved so deeply. And it's funny, isn't it? Because you spend years wanting this life, and now you've got it, but you're too busy chasing what's in front of you to notice it. But here, lads, there's a hard truth to it. Someone, somewhere, is dreaming of the life you have right now. They fantasize about the day that they can perform music in front of an audience, of any audience. They really believe that if they practice hard enough, they might learn the piece that you're playing right now. And they even dream of having the control of their instrument that you now overlook. It's all someone else's dream now, and you owe it to the version of yourself who prayed for this moment to look around and smile. You made it. I'll see you next week, lads.